always wanted to do that.
There's a good hit kick followed up by a hook punch by Falcon. And then Bucky tries to do like an ankle sweep, doesn't really work. And then in order to figure out what your character's objective is.
That's what I'm like. Yeah,
Enola is taking down Mr. Bowler Man. Hey friends! John here, and welcome to The Martial Actor. Today I, a black belt, am reacting to The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. This is a clip from episode 2 titled The Star-Spangled Man, and let's dive right in.
There's an 8th person. I think they have a hostage.
They open with this really wide, beautiful establishing shot, and then Bucky jumps from the road onto this moving truck. So the way that they would have done that stunt is they would have had the truck driving slower so that a stunt person could actually run and keep up with it, and then that person would have jumped onto the truck, and then they would have juxtaposed that shot with the shot before, which shows the truck's moving faster. And when you juxtapose those two shots together, it makes it look like the stunt person is just jumping full speed onto that truck. This girl's name is Erin, Kellyman, and she's a relatively new actress. I think she only started acting like 2015, 2016, something like that. And she's relatively young. I think she's in her mid-20s maybe. And I know she was in the Solo movie for Star Wars, which I have not seen yet. But I really like when Disney takes chances on younger actors, and I think it's really cool. Now this stunt was done mostly by a stunt double, but they did get Sebastian Stan for that hanging on the truck moment. And that stunt was probably done completely in a studio, and then they superimposed the background to make it look like it was on location. And that actually happens a lot in this fight. So this shot with the people on the truck in this wide, that was probably on location. That shot was in studio. This was definitely in the studio.
I always wanted to do
And
that.
I love these quips that they add in the middle of fight scenes. They're so fun, they're a breath of fresh air, and it's a really great way to add levity to a fight. There's a good hit kick followed up by a hook punch by Falcon. And then Bucky tries to do like an ankle sweep, doesn't really work. And then that was a cool stunt. Yeah, these shots, these establishing shots where it's showing like the truck wheels and more of the locations, like they're so interesting. And then US Soldier comes into the fight, and I totally was not expecting this at all. So this guy's name is Wyatt Russell, and he's playing US Agent. I refuse to call him Captain America because he's not Captain America, he's US Agent. Now, Wyatt Russell is actually the son of Kurt Russell and Goldie Hawn, which is like super interesting, but he comes from a background of hockey, which is a very physical sport. And you can tell that he's not a trained fighter, but he's very comfortable in his body. And I think when actors come to fight scenes and fight choreo and they're already comfortable in their body, it can make a world of difference, and I think that this is a great example of that. So this choreo isn't too hard, we're not seeing anything too difficult, it's mostly 1 or 2 moves, but what we are seeing is a highlight of all of their powers. So we can see Bucky's arm and him below the truck, which by the way, I loved this stunt, and all of this would have been done in a studio, and it was just like so cool to see that. And then here with Falcon using his wings in this environmental obstacle on the highway, and US Agent using the shield, like this is all very indulgent, fun superhero stuff that we all want to see when we watch Marvel. So I like seeing it. And these kind of like POV shots of Falcon flying, and then in front of the truck.
Hello girl, kick your ass.
And then these like fun quips. This is Marvel at its finest. And I had so much fun watching this episode. Now this showed a huge difference for me between US Agent and Captain America. Captain America would never use a gun, whereas US Agent pulled out a pistol to try to deal with those bad guys. This was a really cool stunt to see. And you can see right here that when they're rolling in the field, if you slow-mo and check it out, you can totally see that both of those people are stunt people. It is definitely not Sebastian Stan or Anthony Mackie.
Those were all super soldiers, Sam.
I know. You're welcome, by the way.
And now Battlestar's in trouble. That was a strong front kick, and that was a cool gimmick to see US Agent save Battlestar with the shield. I like seeing that. And this shot makes you beg the question, are the Flag Smashers the true bad guys? Because in a stereotypical sense, the big bad baddie doesn't care about what happens to his henchmen. Carly went back and made sure that he was okay. So it makes you question whether there's a bigger bad guy in the works. That was a really good wrist lock, and then she punched him off of the top of the truck. Good stunt from that dude. hitting the car and then rolling off. And that's the end of the fight. That fight scene did not turn out how I thought it was going to go, but I ended up liking it. It started in the warehouse and it made you think it was gonna be this warehouse fight, but then it very quickly changed into the highway, into a fight on top of these two trucks, which is logistically difficult to pull off. And I think it ended up looking good. So yeah, I ended up enjoying it. I totally did not expect US Agent to come in and help Falcon and Winter Soldier, but I'm interested to see how the relationship between those three people continue to evolve as the show goes on. Now, I do have to say my favorite part of this episode probably turned out to be the therapy scene. So if you haven't watched it yet, go watch it. I thought that scene was written very well. It was very funny and also very vulnerable, so I really liked it. Now, I really want to see Sebastian Stan pull out more hand-to-hand combat. He did some really nice stuff in Captain America: The Winter Soldier. So I want to see more of that kind of like gritty hand-to-hand combat, but we'll see if it happens. Keep an eye out for episode 3 next week, and that's all I've got for you today. So take care of yourself, take care of each other, and I'll see you next time.